Hello again, church. Welcome to the fourth plague. Welcome to the fourth plague. Exodus mini number 9. We're going to be looking at the fourth plague, which is in the second half of chapter 8 of the book of Exodus. And we'll jump right into it. The Lord said to Moses, "Get up early in the morning and present yourself to Pharaoh when you see him going out to the water. Tell him this is what the Lord says, let my people go so that they may worship me. But if you will not let my people go, then I will send swarms of flies against you, your officials, your people, and your houses. And the Egyptians' houses will swarm with flies, and so will the land where they live. But on that day I will give special treatment to the land of Goshen, where my people are living. No flies will be there. This way you will know that I, the Lord, am in the land. I will make a distinction between my people and your people. This sign will take place tomorrow." And the Lord did this. Thick swarms of flies went into Pharaoh's palace and in his officials' houses. Throughout Egypt, the land was ruined because of the swarms of flies. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Go, sacrifice to your God within the country." But Moses says it would not be right to do that because what we will sacrifice to the Lord our God is detestable to the Egyptians. If we sacrifice what the Egyptians detest in front of them, won't they stone us? We must go a distance of 3 days into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he instructs us. Pharaoh responded, "I will let you go and sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness, but don't go very far. Make an appeal for me." As soon as I leave," Moses said, "I will appeal to the Lord, and tomorrow the swarms of flies will depart from Pharaoh, his officials, and his people. But Pharaoh must not act deceptively again by refusing to let the people go and sacrifice to the Lord." And Moses left Pharaoh's presence and appealed to the Lord. And the Lord did as Moses had said, and he removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh and his officials and his people. Not one was left. But Pharaoh hardened his heart this time also and did not let the people go. As I mentioned in the last mini on the third plague, there seems to be, again, a pairing going on between the plagues. The first two plagues sort of revolved around the Nile. The second two plagues seem to be revolving around sort of flying insects coming from the ground. And we'll see that pattern repeating itself a little bit. We also hear a few other words that are being repeated, not necessarily in kind of in order or in any kind of pattern, but just simply words that we are noticing over and over again, right? That they're swarming in your palace, amongst your officials and all the people, right? And it's just showing us this sort of the magnitude of the plague that's happening. These are not isolated or localized type plagues. Again, there's quite a few gods that we could reasonably claim that this is in opposition to or attacking, and the one that seems to be more than most recognized as who this might be being in an attack on is this Khepri. Khepri is probably a hard a guttural KH there. Khepri. You'll notice that this is a beetle head on a man's body, and part of why this is thought to be who is being attacked is just the nature of the bugs and the nature of how bugs, and in particularly flies and beetles, are seen in the land of Egypt. Beetles in the land of Egypt are again, much like frogs, a very highly respected thing within the world. And so what actually takes place is that they see the beetle rolling his dung, right, a ball of dung across the ground, and that sort of, in their minds, symbolized the movement of the sun through the sky. Maybe the sun god is being moved through the sky, being escorted through the sky by this Khepri. And the same picture is sort of being shown here. But once again, what's happening is that we're seeing God showing his power and might over all of creation, right? These two plagues, the plague of the gnats and the plague of the flies, are showing us this picture of God not just having dominion over a river and fertility, but having dominion over all things within creation. He creates not just the sun, moon, and the stars, but also the plants and the animals. But we also see this great devastation that is happening because of the flies. But the other thing that we must notice, and we'll see this repeated now from this point forward, is that the flies are not actually everywhere in Egypt. They're everywhere in Egypt except in the land of Goshen, where the people of Israel are. And God says, the reason why I'm doing this is because I want you to know that these are my people, and I am going to treat them different than I'm going to treat you. One of the questions that gets asked at this point is, don't we think that the Israelites probably deserve just as much maybe punishment from God because of their unwillingness to listen and to follow and to obey him? But this again shows us the gracious nature of God in choosing his people, Israel. Moses goes to Pharaoh, is summoned by Pharaoh. Pharaoh says, hey, get rid of these things. And I think that we can all understand the attitude that Pharaoh has in this plague. This plague seems to be, it progresses Pharaoh forward much quicker in the pacing of this plague than the other plagues seemed to have been paced. Pharaoh is almost immediately, he's like, get rid of these things, get rid of these things. And I think that all of us have had that one or two flies buzzing around in our office or in our workplace, and it drives us crazy. But to just think that it's just everywhere, swarming, just constantly landing and bugging, and the filth that kind of comes with that, we can understand how Pharaoh very quickly turns and changes his mind. But now we see Pharaoh going, okay, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go. And we see this deceptive heart coming again from Pharaoh, a picture that once again we got to remind ourselves, we could think that Pharaoh is being, or that Moses is kind of being deceptive by saying, oh, send us away for a 3-day trip, and then we're just going to leave. But again, it's showing us Pharaoh's heart against the people having even the smallest of breaks, right? And so Pharaoh, he's like, yeah, you can go, but only go just a little way away, right? Go just down the road. It's fine. And Moses says, I can't. It's detestable. It's detestable to your people. They'll attack us if we do this. Okay, I will let you go. That's fine. You can go. Just get rid of these flies. And again, this shows us the depth at which Pharaoh's hatred for the people and his desire to rule and have dominion over them, how deep this goes. And then he immediately changes his mind when he sees that the plague has been revoked, has been removed from his people. This is now the fourth plague. We will see you again in the next one.